In the highlands of Kashmir, a tribe who remembers the dawn of the world walk the nomadic trails their fathers once did. Sheep herders and weavers by trade, their work is world-renowned and known for their ancient practices and mastery over the fibers. However, their true art lies not in weaving of wool, but the manipulation of magic. Able to imbue the very arcane natures of the world into their weaves, it is assumed that they were the ones who entwined the world together with their sewing of the ley lines. The force weave, as they call it, is a material to never leave the tribe and has only been given to kings and queens to ensure they may resume the routes that they have always walked. It is nigh impenetrable and is as light as air. True practitioners of the art can even sew a living being together with the weave and meld with the skin. Taylor, a young man of the tribe, held great promise to be the next upcoming weaver, to master the art, and to be the next stitch in the long tapestry before sewing the next generation. Quiet and shy, he took to it like a lamb to the field, picking up the yard with great aplomb. However, tragedy strikes. The highlands have grown dangerous as of late, and tales of caravans being raided have become more and more common. Interest in the tribesmen waxed and waned over the years, but their hollow grounds have given them the edge over would-be attackers. But now, the attacks are relentless. It appears that whoever is sending these thugs after the tribe want something. Shouts echoed through the night. Waking up in a cold sweat, Taylor found his home besieged. Goblins, bugbears, and even human burned any and everything to the ground. Having no interest in the tribesmen themselves, they were mercilessly slaughtered as their wares were thrown to the ground, muttering amongst themselves, looking for the weave. Having studied the last remaining full swath of force weave, Taylor made the hard decision to escape. With a combination of his craft and knowledge of the highlands, he escaped to the great world beyond the mountains in search of who or what sought to ruin his way of life.
Being a tank mage in D&D isn't exactly one of the newest concepts. It's something that existed for quite some time, having your cake, eating it too. You can be more than just the squishy caster that doesn't just die to one blow, while still contributing some massive magic to your team. And I think today we might have actually cracked the code. Now, I'm somebody who plays a lot of Wizard. Wizard is my favorite class by far, because it's just so versatile, and honestly, it's just because of the large spell library. The fact that you're able to have magic that lets you bend reality, but at the same time deal massive damage and provide multiple very flexible spots on a team, it is truly a wonderful class. As far as being a tank mage goes, there's three main classes we can pick. There is, and starting in reverse order that which we got them, there is the Blade Singer, which is more of your in-your-face kind of light sword swinging, hacking, slashing, the hash-slinging slasher type. That does get some good benefits when it comes to actually blade singing that benefits off of your intelligence. In addition, there is the War Magic class that really more focuses on concentrating on spells, and you're getting AC bonuses from that. And then of course we go back to the very first one that existed as far as 5e goes, and that is the Abjuration Wizard. We'll be focusing on that one today. And as you could probably tell at the very upfront, we got ourselves a good little story. So, starting out, Tank Mage, the ultimate tank mage in 5e. I believe this might be the strongest tank mage so far, and I've got plenty of ways to prove it. Just allow me to do so, please. So, starting out, we're going to be a variant human. Now, the variant human is a popular pick, one that everybody loves, everybody needs, everybody joshes on every once in a while, but it's still a very solid pick. As far as it goes, we get ability score increase. Of course, we're going to be bumping that into, well, we'll see when we get to the point buy, of course. And also, we get our free skill, and of course, we get a free feat. Honestly, that's most of the reason why you pick Variant Human, just because of the free feat. It is phenomenal, and we will definitely be taking a big part of that. As far as the language goes, you also do get access to one language. I picked Dwarvish because that kind of makes sense. The idea that we're going with this build is somebody who's a bit more of a, kind of think Mongolian sort of idea. You're growing up on the high grasslands, the steppes, and you and your caravan, your tribe, makes your living by creating various wares, by taking care of sheep who travel with you. And of course, at the same time, you have this sort of secret, like almost like a law of the world without being a druid, being able to tie the ley lines together, much like how you tie various things with your knitting, your sewing, and of course this may lead into something that you can, well, frankly, I call mana weave. This is something, and of course you can call it force weave. There's some sort of magic imbued clothing. We're able to take this primal nature, these ley lines that you and your ancestors for thousands, millennia, are been taken care of, and you're able to take that sort of concept and weave it into your craft and into your lifestyle as well. I think that's something that's truly flavorful, something that really builds a lot of character, and something that I think is more than your just book studying in the tower kind of wizard. Back to the language though, Dwarvish is something that kind of has this whole roots in classical, artesian sort of sense. So it makes sense that maybe there's some Dwarvish mixed in there, because they are probably some of the earliest tinkers as well as some of the original crafters in some various lores. So it only makes sense that your tribe that has been traveling around for millennia, of course you also may be trading with dwarves, but they would pick this language up and use it as far as your nomenclature, as far as your actual main language of speaking. With a free skill, I really do like animal handling. As I mentioned before, you're taking care of sheep, you're taking care of various livestock that's going along with you, so it makes sense that your character who is grown up in this caravan would be well knowledged in sort of animal husbandry. And of course, like any good wizard build, any great wizard build in all honesty, you're going to start Artificer 1. Artificer brings a lot to the wizard table. It's one of those things to where if you really don't see it at first, but once you really get a know-how of how wizard works and what wizard really wants, Artificer gives so much, even with just a very small dip. So as Artificer 1, we're going to go ahead and we're going to get a little thing called Magical Tinkering. It's really more for flavor than anything else. And of course, we're going to get to the spell casting. But let's go ahead and look at the class features first. Now, as an Artificer, you get more HP than the average wizard. The average wizard has a D6 hit die, but the Artificer gets a D8. Just a little bit bigger, but honestly, 1 HP on average is a much nicer sort of thing. You also get proficiency in light, medium armor, and shields. We'll definitely be using probably the latter two, because that is going to give us a nice good AC that keeps us well stocked, well healthy, and able to keep us alive and be able to support our teammates a little bit more, as well as do some off-tanking if need be. If you find yourself one-on-one squaring down a monster, you're not just instinctively gonna Misty Step Dimension Door out of there. Of course, those are options that you have, but we've got more than just that now. Weapons, frankly, we don't really need that too much. As far as tools goes, I'm gonna go ahead and say we're gonna pick up Leatherworker's tools, just because that seems like something that would be very much, if you're working with weaving sort of thing, leatherworking isn't too far off base either. They kind of incorporate skills from the other. As far as skills go, I do recommend Arcana and Perception. Perception is one of the most important checks in the game, one of the most frequently used. And as the team wizard, somebody who has a naturally high intelligence, somebody's going to handle the Arcana of the team, and it might as well be you. As far as starting equipment goes, the studded leather armor might be your best bet if you're not really too worried about stealth. Scale mail might also be fine for you. You also do pick up Thieves' Tools in a Dungeoneering pack. You're not the best with Thieves' Tools, but it's available. If anything, you maybe have an extra spare that you can hand the rogue if you ever need it. But most importantly, we are going to be picking up, in addition to the armor, it's also just as equally important, we're going to be picking up the saving throws. That is a Constitution and Intelligence saving throw. Having proficiency in a Constitution saving throw is going to be massive, mainly because of our concentration. Now, again, because we're going to be tanky and because of how certain mechanics work, we don't need the Constitution save just as much as the other wizards, but it's still very nice to have in case you're ever in a pinch, because your defenses aren't always going to be up. So it's better just to concentrate while you can. Again, another thing that the Artificer brings to the wizard spellbook. Background, here we are. Obviously, going as somebody who's going for this, caravan weaving sort of thing, you got to go guild artisan. Maybe less guild, more artisan, but the idea is still there. And it lets you pick up some of the best skills in the game, and that is insight and persuasion. Insight just goes very well with being able to see what the other person is feeling, be able to maybe catch into some lies. You're not the best, of course, you're not exactly wisdom focused, but still it's good to have on hand. And persuasion just kind of helps with greasing the wheels a little bit, just in case you need to be the one who picks this up, or in case you find yourself in a situation where you do. As far as tools proficiency goes, of course, it's going to tie very well with the background. This is where I would take the Weaver's tool. And again, the tools are more for flavor. Anything else, we're not exactly going to go around, try to fix up clothing, fix up leather or anything. But of course, that's a viable option if your DM allows it. A lot of people kind of hand wave these sort of rules. Tools don't exactly come up too often. But the fact that we have the option, and again, the fact that it plays so well with the flavor, works very well. And a little bit of a spoiler sort of thing. Artificer lets you use tools as magical focuses. And again, since we're going for this whole weaver aesthetic, just the idea of having your needle as well as any spools that you have or various other tools that you use for weaving, kind of weaving magic, using the flow of mana, channeling the ley lines into your magic by sewing it and finding a place in reality and just firmly attaching it with string and binding it together as such. Love it. That is honestly what I'm setting out for when I'm building this character. Again, of language, you also get one as well as a choice. Elvish, another just common language that may come up, something that is just as old-lived as your tribe maybe. Something, again, you can honestly pick whatever you like. These are just two that I really feel come up often. You can go for halfling, that does come up time to time. You can also go for the more esoteric options, celestial, primordial, whatever you feel gives your character a little bit more of your own spin, as well as fit your setting that you want. So of course, as I mentioned, magical tinkering is something that you get as an artificer. It's not exactly crazy, but it's still something. It's, again, just a little bit of cool, a little bit of ability. You're able to imbue non-magical tiny objects with various little effects, like being able to make it give a tiny little bit of a light, 5 foot, and then 5 foot of dim light. Just a nice little hand torch, but it's nothing that really comes up too frequently. But hey, maybe you'll find more use out of it than I did. And of course, as I mentioned before, spellcasting. This is something that is thankfully very similar to Wizard. You're an intelligence-based caster, so that way you don't have to worry about, if you're doing wisdom with one, charisma with another set of spells. It's all intelligence, and that's something that we're really going to be focusing on, as well as something else that gives us a little bit more than, again, your wookly, wizardy sort of character. You get yourself your good cantrips, and of course, actually, this is something I didn't know until I built this character, but artificers also get ritual casting, so that's great. For those who don't know, ritual casting means that if a spell has a ritual tag, you're able to spend an additional 10 minutes to cast that spell for free, if I recall correctly. So, in other words, very good to have. We will be casting some rituals, and it's just good to have some on hand. And, well, some of you who are familiar with the Abjuration Wizard can already kind of think of some other things I might be throwing in. And again, those are options. Not what we're building around, but those are options. Here is our point buy that you see. Now, we took our +2, that is going to be 1 in dexterity, 1 in intelligence, because that's going to help us with our armor class as well as intelligence being our main stat. We're dumping strength. I'm thinking, weavers aren't exactly known for their big, bulking muscles. They're more of a dexterous, very loose, light-fingered sort of type of character, able to move things through. And again, that's also why we bump dexterity as well. Again, just keeping that flavor going. Really like the constitution on this, and I'm going to go middling stats on wisdom and charisma. A bit of a weak spot, especially that wisdom when it comes to saves, but honestly, still something, you have to make your losses, and we'll take what we can. For our free feat, surprise, surprise, this has been a popular pick for Abjuration Wizards ever since it came out, but genuinely, it's something that you just can't go without. It's too broken with this build. And that is going to be the Eldritch Adept feat. As long as you're able to cast a spell, you're able to get yourself 1 Warlock Invocation. The best part is that Armor of Shadows, which came out in the player's handbook before, is pretty underwhelming. But now it lets you cast Mage Armor, or it's now able to take it any time. So Warlocks, maybe a Hexblade would take it up or anything, but able to cast Mage Armor on yourself without expending a spell slot or material components is fantastic for reasons that we'll be building into later. Thematically, I would think of it less as making a deal with a higher entity, a patron, a devil, but more of a just, again, making your craft. This could be your mana weave. This could be represented by your mage armor, as well as something else that we go into a little bit later, or just something to where you can imbue your very clothing, your armor, with the mana weave, with the ley lines, and with the ability to just, again, take that as an extension of Artificer, being able to imbibe something with your magic. Imbue, and imbibe means to drink. Sorry. So here's the thing for mage armor. Very solid spell up top. It's a first level abjuration spell. That is important. It is a duration of 8 hours. So you can set it, forget it. Best part, no concentration. That's phenomenal. You give it to a willing creature who isn't wearing armor, and you're able to give them 13 plus dex mod. Now, that seems fairly weak. To where we are, that would put us at about a 15 AC. Go ahead and feel free to take some cantrips. Guidance is something Wizard doesn't get. And honestly, it's just a good to have. You need to have somebody on your team with it. You're able to give anybody you touch a D4 to their next ability check. Comes up very frequently. A D4 could help you save a negotiation, or could help you save an arcana check or medicine check even. Just something good to have, and something to remind yourself that you have too. Beyond that, it's just good to have. Mending, very flavorful. Again, as somebody who's developed with their weaver's tools, their leatherworking tools, you're a master of natural components and natural fibers and everything. So in a way, you can almost be like weaving magic into even like metal, kind of tying it back together and that sort of thing. It's again an ancient art that has been left to you and your family and your relatives for generations, decades, millennia. So I think mending is very flavorful for that. It's very good, especially if you have a Warforged on your team, or Autognome. Autognome is the one that goes off of it. Very useful to have. In addition, we're going to go ahead and pick up Alarm as another first level Abjuration spell, Ritual spell as well, that allows you to kind of set... Thematically, it kind of lets you do whatever you want, but I imagine with the components that we have here, a tiny bell and silver wire, you're kind of laying out these lines that alarm you if anything ever enters the vicinity, and of course it turns invisible as well. So in other words, you're able to tie in your weaving skills once more, being able to create a barrier around you and your team, a very loose barrier, kind of more of a cannon string sort of thing, but still the idea of just using more strings and tying them together just keeps going with the flavor. Fairy Fire is another good spell to have. I really don't have anything thematically to tie to it. I really picked it because it's something Wizard doesn't get, and it's frankly just very nice. You're able to go ahead and just choose an area you want. They have to, anything in that area has to make a dex save. That includes allies, unfortunately. But if they fail, they get everything against them gets advantage. So if you have any sort of martial class, a fighter or a ranger or anything like that, something that hits with a weapon, it's phenomenal because now you're giving advantage for free. Rogues love this because their sneak attack procs off of any advantage, and you're giving it out like candy with this. In addition, we're going to pick up Absorb Elements, just a good spell to have. Again, you can kind of tie your magic into quickly throwing a shroud over yourself that protects against elements, magics that absorb the elements and just breaks them down to their base components. Again, just something cool. And Cure Wounds. Again, something Wizard doesn't have, but also we can work thematically. Again, similar to how you're able to like almost sew metal together with your mana strings, you're able to do the same thing to the human body with the wounds. You're able to close them with almost magical sutures and be able to work your force weave into almost this biological sort of thing to where it can really cover everything, and it genuinely does work on everything. It's magic. I don't have to explain how it works. Now, finally, level 2, we're going to go into the Wizard. Finally, it took a long enough time, but honestly, it was well worth. Just as a heads up, now that we're going to be going into the Wizard, multi-classing is a bit of an interesting thing. I really didn't break it down too much with what I've got here presented, but just bear in mind of that. Artificer is what is called a half-caster. So you take the Artificer level, divide it by 2, and add it to whatever full caster you have, i.e. Wizard in this case, and that'll be what level spellcaster you are. And this will pull up, let me go into real quick, and this will be for Rangers, Paladins, Artificer. The way those work is to where you take the level, round it down, and then you add that to your spellcasting class. Artificer works differently in that it takes the level divided by 2, but rounded up. So if you have 3, take it down divided by 2, that'd be 1.5. If that was a Paladin or Ranger, that'd only be level 1. As an Artificer, that's an additional 2 levels of spellcasting. So just as a heads up, Artificer, again, just comes in clutch for Wizard. It's almost wonderful. It just makes an already fantastic class even better. Wizard 2, we're going to be a 2nd level spellcaster, so keep that in mind for spell slots as well as we progress. You're going to have the spell slots, but you won't be able to pick the spells. Don't worry, I'll help you pick the spells as we go through. You get Arcane Recovery. Frankly, something that really a lot of people doesn't really take advantage of, and you can. Just make sure you remember that exists. When you take a short rest, you choose expended level spell slots to recover, and those equal to half your Wizard level or less. And as it kind of mentions here as an example, if you're a 4th level Wizard, you can recover up to 2 levels worth of spell slots. That could be a 2nd level or 2 first level, and of course that's something that goes on for a while. Very nice whenever you have a lot of combats in one day, especially a dungeon, being able to recover your slots on short rest. That's something your warlocks, your monks, and your fighters will genuinely enjoy, so you get yourself a nice little benefit out of it as well. It's also your bards too, so just keep that in mind. We get additional cantrips as a Wizard as well. We're kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel here. So go ahead and pick up Light. As a human, we don't exactly have dark vision, one of the few races that don't, but honestly, it's something that's just good to have. As well as Firebolt, we want a good ranged option. We want some damaging options as well because, we are a Wizard. So we won't be primarily focusing on damage, but it's still good to have a nice source of damage, and Firebolt is pretty much the best we can get. As well as, and this is an interesting tech I found while reading the description, Encode Thoughts. This does not come up in any sort of guide, this does not come up in any sort of build, but it's something that I found works super well thematically with this character. If you'll indulge me, let me read this real quick. You pull a memory, an idea, or a message from your mind and transform it to a tangible string of glowing energy called a thought strand, which persists until the duration or until you cast a spell again. The thought strand appears in a non-occupied space within 5 feet of you as a tiny, weightless, semi-solid object that can be held or carried like a ribbon. It's otherwise stationary. If you cast a spell while concentrating on a spell or ability that lets you read or manipulate the thoughts of others, such as detect thoughts or modify memory, you can transform the thoughts or memories you read, rather your own, into a thought strand. Casting the spell while holding a thought strand immediately allows you to retrieve whatever the memory, idea, or message the thought strand contain, as casting detect thoughts on the strand has the same effect. Came out in Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica and probably doesn't come up too often, but the idea of just it being a string is just, again, just works so perfectly thematically. You can't help but get excited about it. So I will admit, full disclosure, in the build I do not take detect thoughts. It's something that comes up very infrequently, and for its spell slot level there's just too many good options. But it's something that if you pick up as a scroll or something you pick up from another book, you can add it to your own book, and it's something that will just enhance the idea of this even further. If anything, I'd say use this as your own memory, to where if you need to catch somebody up on something, you can think of these story implications as you go through this, and it adds so much. And again, as a cantrip, it's not like you're casting a spell slot and it lets it last for 8 hours, and it's so good. It's honestly one of those things to where it all came together. We're gonna go ahead and pick up our first level spells as well. You gotta pick up Shield. It's the wizard tax. It's something where you just gotta get a +5 AC to you, which again is phenomenal for this build considering we have a higher AC than most wizards already do. We're going to put us up to 20 if my math is correct. Actually, be 21 with the studded leather. Again, just got to get it. As an abjuration spell, now you even have more reason to get it as we go even one level further, but just hold your horses there. In addition, we're going to get Magic Missile, another good ranged spell, something to where it's a little bit more reliable. You don't even roll for damage. You just roll a d4, does the damage +1. Very nice to have, very reliable, could help in a number of situations. Disguise Self, another fun first level spell. You can almost work this as sort of a mana weave, kind of like, being able to manipulate the mana itself. You become so familiar with the craft that you're able to kind of put the mana weave on somebody else and be able to change how they look and everything just by the manipulation of that mana. Again, just really fun thematic idea. And Tensor's Floating Disc, I mostly pick that for utility purposes. It doesn't come up too often. It's a good ritual. I would almost kind of think it maybe as your character has caravanning route, so it may be something. Honestly, pick whatever you like there, but Tensor's Floating Disc I feel fits very thematically. And of course, we want a good close range option as well. That is going to be Thunder Wave. It sweeps out from beside you, does hit allies as well. Just be wary of that. It's more of a get off me sort of thing. You got your good reliable range option, you got yourself your good damaging range option, and now you got yourself your good close range option. You're covering the gamut here. And of course, another piece of the wizard tax, you got to get yourself Find Familiar. Take this shell and fill it in with a life of your own. Find Familiar will definitely allow you to do that. Next level of wizard. Now this is one that we need to get this whole thing online, and that is going to be Abjuration. Is one of those that came out in the player's handbook and is one that is always struck a fancy with a number of people, but it's one of those that just gets outshined by Divination and then later on the Chronology, as well as Blade Singer. There's a number of great wizards, but Abjuration has always been one of those that seems very interesting, especially with their second level features rather. In addition, I'm also going to introduce something that you may see in the top left corner up there, and that is going to be the effective HP. That is going to combine the total HP of the character, and that is by taking the average, that is going to be 4 HP per level, because that's what's recommended. Of course, you're free to roll your own. I'm just doing a general idea here. And also with our Arcane Ward, which we'll go into after we discuss Abjuration Savant. Just something nice that you get with every player's handbook wizard class that lets you spend half the time and gold that you need to copy an Abjuration spell. The good news is there's really not a lot of Abjuration spells. I guess it's kind of bad news. Depends if you want to be more of a book learning sort of character, but make sure you keep that in mind. But the main bread, butter, icing on this cake, the whole cake itself, genuinely what we're building this character around, the Arcane Ward. If you'll indulge me, allow me to read this out real quick. Starting at second level, you can weave magic around yourself for protection. When you cast an Abjuration spell at first level or higher, you can simultaneously use a strand of the spell's magic to create a magical ward on yourself that lasts until a long rest. The ward has hit points equal to twice your wizard level plus your intelligence modifier. When you take damage, the ward takes the damage instead If this damage reduces the ward to 0 hit points, you take any remaining damage. While the ward has 0 hit points, it can't absorb damage, but its magic remains. Whenever you cast an Abjuration spell at first level or higher, the ward gains a number of hit points equal to twice the level of the spell, and of course, once you create a ward, you can't create it again until you finish a long rest. This is bonkers. Even at this level, that is only going to be 5 HP, 5 additional HP. But that takes you from a squishy wizard into something that creates a ward in front of you that takes all the damage. Just interesting text to know. The arcane ward, whenever it's hit, does not count as a hit towards you, towards maintaining concentration, because it's hitting the ward, not you. I believe that the ward would have to take the damage first, no matter what the circumstance. The ward is always going to be projected in front of you. So in other words, it's going to have to take the hit first. But going back to our Eldritch Invocation, we picked up Mage Armor. And again, that's nice to have as far as bolstering our own defense. But notice that was an Abjuration spell with no cost, no components whatsoever, no spell slot required. First level spell. In other words, you're able to heal the ward, ideally outside of battle, 2 HP every 6 seconds. So in other words, to fill this guy back up, it would only take us 15 seconds right now. That is not correct. It's going to be 30 seconds. I imagine because it takes the full action to cast Mage Armor. So let's just give ourselves some leeway, 30 seconds, maybe 35 seconds if we're really trying to pull some hairs here. But again, being able to build your ward back for free is phenomenal. Obviously, I wouldn't recommend doing this in battle because you'll be using those actions casting Mage Armor, and you could be doing much better things with your time. But as soon as you exit combat, you're able to give yourself effectively even more HP. And that's not something I added to the effective HP. If you have multiple combats per day, you're able to fill this ward back up and be able to get it back to full, thus doubling your bonus that you have here. But, leave that to you and your DM. Figure out whatever you're doing with that. But I think this is a phenomenal thing, and we're already setting ourselves up for success now that we have this. With every wizard level, you get 2 spells of your spell slot that you're able to get, and I went ahead and I picked Detect Magic, just because, again, somebody's got to have it. Might as well be you as the team wizard. Just lets you be able to sense magic within 30 feet of you. Maybe your cleric has it. If so, pick another nice spell that you want. In addition, I picked Burning Hands. Again, doesn't really have anything to do with weaving or manipulating the magic, but Burning Hands is just a nice, good area of effect, thus being able to allow us to cover, again, a bevy of options. You're able to hit near, far, wherever you are. Doesn't matter if they're over here, over there, sitting in a chair, you're able to hit them now. It's fantastic. Wizard level 3, overall level 4. Not a whole lot really happens here, but we do get access to second level spells. Finally, we're a little bit behind, but it's well worth it looking at our defensive option. Our effective HP is now 37, went up quite a bit with everything. And also we get, again, one of the best spells in the game, and that is going to be Web. Again, thematically, you can imagine yourself sort of sewing up this web before casting it out as a net, or almost weaving it into existence above your opponent's heads before it drops down, encapsulating them in this sticky, gooey web. It is one of the best spells in the game. There is a number of videos out there. I really recommend the one by Pack Tactics. The web is a math changer when it comes to the whole thing. Just again, watch out for your allies with it. In addition, you're free to pick any other second level spell that you want. I opted for Flaming Sphere this time. We're kind of going for a little bit of a fire theme, I noticed, but that's not why I picked this. I picked it because it's just a good way to use your concentration. We don't exactly have a great way just yet, aside from web maybe, but it also allows us to use our bonus action, which is something that wizards always kind of struggle with. You usually take the telekinetic feat, or you take like Flaming Sphere or something along those lines, but really our options are fairly limited as wizards to use this bonus action. So being able to use Flaming Sphere to be able to control it and hit enemies while just moving it for basically free, because we're not using our bonus action for much else, just additional damage, just keeps you on the offense, which again, a great offense is a good defense, and we've got both. We're gonna dip back to Artificer. I know this breaks the cardinal sin of wizards. You want to get to third level spells ASAP. You want to be able to just not keep cutting our spell progression off like this. But if I find that it's very useful to have. Web will carry you for quite some time, and we'll be using the Artificer here. And I believe this is our last dip into Artificer, so we might as well get it now, hit it early, and just get it going. In addition, Artificer also gives us some HP, so it's not a total loss. But we're going to go ahead and pick up what the Artificer is mostly known for, and that is going to be the infusions. You get 4 infusions that you want, any that you'd like from a specific list depending on the level, but you only can really keep up 2 at any time. And of course, these are magical items, and they are truly, truly wonderful. It's something, again, that the Artificer really brings to the team, and it's something that you bring as well. But we're going to be a little greedy with it. We kind of need it. We kind of need to be greedy. So our effective HP went up, as you can see. We're going to pick up these 4 infusions. We're going to go for Enhanced Defense. Obvious reasons. We're going to bump up our AC even higher, become even tankier, spankier, and even maybe a little bit lankier. Well, not just yet. We'll see if we'll go up the dex levels yet. And of course, we're going to pick up something that, frankly, I don't see picked up too often, but I do see something that's a parallel to it, and that is going to be Mind Sharpener. This gives you an item with 4 charges. This is going to be your robes or your armor and everything. And if you ever fail a con save, you can just spend one of those and you made it. Like, it's fantastic. Usually people take Warcaster to get advantage on these saving throws, on con saves, but we've already got our proficiency in con saves, and now we got it to where if we're just failing it, boom. 1d4 times a day, 4 times a day, just get it for free, which is fantastic when it comes to holding our major spells like Web, like Flaming Sphere. Genuinely nice to have. Replicate magic item, honestly, is usually the one that most people pick off the top. I mean, you got some great options. I like the Alchemy Jug, of course, the Bag of Holding, phenomenal. But usually I find DMs kind of either hand wave, weight options, carrying things, or they just give you a Bag of Holding just to kind of give you a reason to have both. So it's just nice to have in your back pocket in case you ever just find yourself where you don't really need the Mind Sharpener, you find it to be overkill, or you're on an off day and you want to kind of make a little bit of a party and you decide to break out a whole jug of mayonnaise, you know, hey, party guy right there. Yeah, straight wizard from here, baby. Wizard 4, class 6. This is where we get our free ASI, and frankly, we've been needing it for a while. We're going to go ahead and actually pick up the Tough Feat. It's one that you don't see too frequently. But it's one that, again, I feel like just really fits the character. Every level you get 2 extra HP. So it bumps up your wizard from an, again, expected 4 HP per level to now 6, a respectable amount, frankly. I believe that would put us with a D8 cast, or D8 hit die character, so honestly, something that we kind of could use really well. If you're trying to be more well-rounded, then go ahead and bump your intelligence. We will be focusing on that quite a bit. I believe that'll be from here on out. But I feel like the Tough Feat, when we're trying to build a character that stacks HP, stacks AC, stacks all of this defensive capabilities together, you really can't go wrong with the Tough Feat. In addition, it also lets us gain 2 more HP per level that we have. So at level 6, we get an additional 12 HP, bumping our effective HP up to, well, you have to find out, because we're going to go Minor Illusion since we get a free cantrip as a wizard. Oh, don't worry, I won't tease you too much longer. Here you go. 64 effective HP. Very great to have as a wizard, especially at level 6, 4 levels of wizard. 64 HP is unheard of. It's absurd. It's wild. And it's something that I feel like is just again, adds a level of identity to this character. Go ahead and pick up Invisibility. Again, I imagine this, again, as the Mana Weave, the Force Weave, being able to kind of be able to bend the light around it. As you become a more effective wizard, you're able to manipulate the mana flow, allowing it to do a lot more like tricks and everything, as well as just makes you a more someone who's more tied to the magical ley lines, much like your ancestors was, and allows you to be able to use these abilities and really unlock the potential that this truly has, lost arts and what have you. Misty Step is just great to have. You're free to choose whatever you like there. Misty Step is honestly a usual go-to for wizards, so I really recommend it. Just one of the things that gets you out of there. Again, if you're taking too much hits, now you got another reason to bail out of it, which is good to have. We're going to go Wizard level 5, total level 7, and we're going to go ahead and finally pick up these 3rd level spells. This is a game changer. This is one of the biggest power bumps that wizards get, and it's mainly because of these 2 spells right here. Counterspell, which lets you shut down a spell that you see being cast, just be able to say, nope, and stop them right there. DC equals 10 plus the spell's level, but that's not too hard from you, especially as we get further into it. But we'll save that for later, because we're really going to be here mostly for Hypnotic Pattern. Hypnotic Pattern is a hell of a spell. It's one of those things to where you just cast it on a large group of enemies, allies included, so watch out, and any creature that's in that area has to take a wisdom save, and our intelligence isn't exactly the highest, sure. But those who fail the wisdom save, they just stop. There is no save while they're being charmed. They are just incapacitated. Their speed is 0. And if anybody has to spend an action to wake them up, you just effectively wasted 2 creatures' turns. Hypnotic Pattern is one of those necessary to take for wizards for a reason. It's a shutdown spell of the nth degree. It can end entire combats just off this cast, just off this 3rd level spell slot. So it's really worth well taking for that alone. Now we're going to go to wizard level 6. Total level 8, and we're just going to pick up more good stuff, in all honesty. But of course, we're going to pick up our projected ward first. So this is one of those that I'm kind of torn on. It can help, again, mostly for roleplay purposes as well as thematic purposes. If you see a creature within 30 feet of you that takes damage, you can let your ward absorb that damage instead. It's one of those things that lets you just use your ward and be a team player, so that way you're not the one who's bulking up and, keeping your infusions for yourself, keeping your ward for yourself, being the one who's the bulkiest on the team. Now you can share the love, and it's kind of nice. But now the aforementioned good stuff. We're going to go with this spell magic, again, as the wizard. Somebody's got to take it. Might as well be you. But thankfully, we will be getting a bonus to that soon enough. In addition, we're also going to pick up Liamit's tiny hut. Just imagine yourself making this tiny little caravan, this tiny little tent with your magic as you go. It's just something that, again, just very nice to have. And again, it's almost a wizard tax to where it's just allows you to give your teammates the best comfort you can as a wizard. It's one of those ways you just give back, aside from just game-ending combat like that. Our effective HP is now 84. It is getting wild up in here. But let's see if we can push it even higher. Wizard level 7, total 9. We're gonna keep now we're getting wild. And we're just gonna keep getting wild. I'm gonna spoil it for you right now. It's just gonna keep getting wild. We're just gonna be wizarding. We're gonna be the best wizard that ever was. Best wizard that ever wielded a wand. We're gonna go ahead and pick up Polymorph. Again, just standard array wizard spell. But it's one of those things where you can almost weave this sort of the magic around somebody else, effectively changing them into a very different creature altogether. Again, just being able to work this mana flow, being able to work the magic, being able to work the very fabric of reality, into changing your ally or your opponent with this very versatile spell. Being able to give somebody additional HP, saving them in a pinch if they're dying. Boom, you're a T-Rex now. Now we just shifted the whole combat around. Or you see this giant creature, all right, fail your save. Boom, you're now a rabbit. Being able to, again, shut down combat, no problem. It is fantastic. Banishment is another one of those things where you can kind of push somebody from the fabric of reality as the ultimate seamster, I don't know the male equivalent. You're able to choose what exists within this reality that you have woven, that you and your forefathers have created, and be able to shunt them out of it is, again, just thematically. I love it. Effective HP is now 94. We're almost there to the triple digits, and I believe we'll hit it with our next level, and that is going to be Wizard 8. Total level 10. Now is finally the time. We're going to pick up our intelligence. It has been lacking a bit. We weren't exactly the sharpest knife in the crayon box, but now we certainly will be. With an intelligence of 18, we're going to keep bumping that even higher. It helps everything. It's going to increase our ward as well, so really we should have been taking it all along, but everything else was just too good to pass up. You can take tough feet here instead of the intelligence if you want, but again, I'm trying to bump up that number up there as much as I can, so I apologize. And it does have the same end effect, so if you have to take it now, don't worry about that. We're picking up Dimension Door. Dimension Door again, wizard necessity, being able to teleport yourself 500 feet away, pretty darn good. I mean, being able to move yourself, kind of take yourself and move it somewhere else, great to have, as well as an ally too. It's just nice to have. In addition, I would say we pick up Fire Shield. Fire Shield is a very good non-concentration spell that if enemies hit you, and if I was a DM, I would rule it as hitting your ward, since that is almost effectively you. Again, see how that goes. They take damage in return. 2d8 fire or cold damage, whichever you pick. Whatever you pick. I don't have a flavor. I don't have an idea in mind. We were kind of going fire earlier, so maybe if you want some cold, or maybe you want to keep going the fire, you choose. It's your character. Do what you want. It's my gift to you. Do what you like. But again, it kind of gives you the idea that you're sewing this shield into existence. Again, you're just being able to manipulate the fabric around you. This force weave is truly a versatile substance. One of those things that existed that purely within your tribe that nobody else had access to. And now you're able to almost effectively bring it back to the forefront of the world as the premier master of it. And we'll only keep getting stronger as we go further. And of course, we'll be doing that with Wizard level 9, total level 11. 5th level spells. What are we taking? We're taking Wall of Force. It is a powerful spell. It is a wall that is able to just be able to stop enemies on the sides and everything. They can't go through it. They can't go around it. You're able to just weave this wall into existence and just go beyond. And then Rary's Telepathic Bond, I would say you're almost kind of like working that encode thoughts, being able to tie a tether to your allies as well, establishing a telepathic link as a ritual spell as well. It's just very nice to have. It's almost a wizard tax, both of these spells, but in all honesty, you could work very well thematically with what you want. And we're already at 115 HP. Let's just get it higher, baby. Let's just get it higher. Wizard level 10, total level 12. You're going to get a little more wild with this. And this is the one that we've been waiting for. This is something that, again, aside from our arcane ward, this is something that keeps the Abjuration wizard much more different than the other one. And that is because of our improved Abjuration. So with that, whenever we cast an Abjuration spell that makes an ability check as a spell, counterspell, dispel magic. Whoa, would you look at that? We have both of those. You can add your proficiency bonus to that check. We have a +4 to intelligence right now. And with our +4 proficiency bonus, we have now a +8 to any spell. The DC was 10 plus the spell's level. We already almost caught up to that 10. If it was a first level spell, you only need to roll a 3 or more to shut that down spell entirely. If it's a 4th level spell, again, just keeps going higher. We're able to stop spells incredibly effectively. On average, we'd be able to stop an 8th level spell without too much of an effort. In addition, 125. We get a new cantrip. Pick whatever you like. I like Mage Hand. It's kind of nice to have an extra hand aboard, kind of helping you sew and everything. There's a bevy of options. Pick what you want. Thaumaturgy's cool. Prestidigitation's nice. I think Wizard only gets one of those, and I believe it's Prestidigitation. Whatever you feel. Whatever helps you bring your character to life. We're going to pick up Dominate Person. Since we're now like being able to sew things into existence, how about we focus on the meta? And now you're able to almost kind of work your way into manipulating people into what you want. Again, with our encode thoughts, our Rary's telepathic bond, you're becoming a master of the mind. In addition to the nature, the world around you, the Phaline may also be branched off into the people that inhabit the world. And you're able to take that sort of thing and be able to weave it into the shape that you like. Ideally for generous reasons, but again, you do what you want. So with that, you're able to dominate person, be able to control what they say, do, and think. And also you're able to do the same to monsters. Very nice to have very good abilities. And again, you're making them make wisdom saves. Wisdom is exactly one of the most contested saves, so it's just good to have. And also with an 18 intelligence, we're almost there maxing out our spell save, so go wild. Go nuts. Wizard level 11, total level 13. Now we got 6 level spells. We got ourselves Contingency. It's a very expensive spell, but ideally by this point you should be able to afford it. You're able to spend 1,500 gold coins. I saw the GP, sorry. And you're able to cast a spell that takes effect whenever a certain condition happens. Normally, a lot of people save this for whenever I'm under half health. I dimension door backwards 500 feet or some variation to that effect. But we're an Abjuration wizard. We're going to use our contingency for something, you know, a little more Abjuration-y, you know? But before we do that, we're at 135 HP, just going up by 10 every level. It's going up. It's going to keep going. But our contingency is going to be used on Globe of Invulnerability, another Abjuration spell. So it adds another 6 to, or it's going to add another 12 to your ward. So in addition to be able to coat you as well as anybody within 10 feet of you within an invincible sphere. There's almost an F sound in there. As such, this is almost like a panic button to where if you're under half health or a quarter health or 10% of HP, boom, you and around you 10 feet is just locked out from the world. And you got yourself this whole sphere for up to a minute. You're able to be immune to spell that can't have an effect on you. And enemies can't reach you from outside. Any spells from 5th level or lower can't even come close to it. It's fantastic. It's a great get out of jail free card. It's a great panic button. And it's just something nice to keep on deck. We're going to go ahead and go to Wizard level 12, overall 14, and we get another ASI. Capping off that intelligence. We need that intelligence as high as we can, and we finally did it. It took a while. Took a long while. But honestly, something that we very much needed. And now our effective HP is going up 11 HP per level. We're at 146. A lot of classes, a lot of characters in the game with like 150 HP. And we are there at level 14. It's going to keep going higher. Going to go ahead and pick up Mass Suggestion. Mass Suggestion, again, this is just an evolution of your Dominate Person, Hold Monster sort of skills. Now you're able to be so in tune with the ley line that you're able to see the ley line kind of cast its branches out, its roots, you know, however you envision this sort of thing, into the people, and you're able to do that at a large scale. You're becoming a master of being able to weave reality, bend the shape, be able to anything that the magic touch, you are able to manipulate it, and you're able to adjust it. And Mass Suggestion just continues to show your mastery of that skill as you weave. Now you can now weave social interaction. You're able to weave the concept of mentality, being able to change minds, being able to not exactly create like from nothing, these concepts, but be able to manipulate them, bend them to the shape that you want, just like any good craftsman would. And now a spell you've probably never heard of, and frankly, I never heard of before starting this whole build. And that is going to be Guard and Wards. Honestly, real talk, probably not the best spell. But it's one of those things to where, A, it's only 10 GP. Sure, why not? It's a 6th level Abjuration. Why not? It's thematically fitting. But it's just something that I feel like an ultimate Abjuration wizard would be able to have. Now you're able to control your domain. You're able to, if you and your friends, you and your teammates were able to get yourself your own place through a reward or through a purchase, now you are able to just make it truly your own as an Abjuration wizard. You are the ultimate security, and you will ensure that nobody aside from what you want is there. Take a chance to read this spell. You probably will never read it again unless you really go with this character. And honestly, again, pick whatever 6th level spell you want. We picked all the great ones, but this is one of those that I just really felt like thematically was just one of those things to where, call me out on this if that's not the case, if this is not a possibility. But if you, because it just says you pick up to 2,500 feet of square space, floor space, for 10 minutes. You have to spend 10 minutes concentrating on the spell. It's not something you can just drop right then and there. But if you're about to enter a dungeon, would you be able to cast guards and wards on this dungeon, effectively making it your playground? Wizard level 13, total level 15. We're finally hitting those 7th level spells. Now we're starting to kind of bend reality quite a bit, more than we already have, but now we're just getting a little more wild. And we're going to do that with an old classic, a favorite of every DM who's ever existed, Force Cage. Force Cage can end a combat. Right there. For $1,500, you can just say no to anything. Everything. As long as they don't counterspell you. But again, you're one of the best counterspellers in the game. You know, maybe a, what's it called? A subtle spell from a sorcerer is probably the only thing to truly beat you. Bards have a hard time beating you because you're able to just go above and beyond. With our Force Cage, we're able to just shut things down. Just right there. There's no save. There's no chance to end it. It can't dispel magic it. And again, you can dispel the magic if they do anything. You can counterspell them if they try anything. You are able to lock down combat and just shut it down then and there for an hour. And trust me, with the slots on the side, I think your archer will take care of that much sooner than an hour. In addition, like any good wizard, we're wizards, man. We're more than just a bulky boy. We got ourselves our simulacrum. So imagine you, a masterful wizard able to manipulate the ley lines of the world, being able to create a wondrous material that regenerates with every spell that you cast, being able to protect your allies, being able to weave the mind's thoughts of others as well as reality itself, being able to weave these giant cages that can capture demons into existence. Now imagine there's two of you. Simulacrum does that. Again, for another $1,500 as a recurring theme here, you're able to create your own clone that can do everything you can. So that means twice the wards. They can throw your ward onto you. And of course, the ward has the half of the hit point maximum, but our motherfucking hit points are huge. Like, even not counting the ward, we got ourselves a character who has, top of my head, I apologize if not right, 60 HP, that has these 7th level spells, that is also has its own ward, has all the same effects. I don't think any decent DM would allow this. You know, it breaks the game. You're getting a little wild, you're getting a little wacky, you're getting a little loosey-goosey. But of course, that's what you expect with high-level wizards. So, yeah, we'll go with Simulacrum. Why not? You know, hey, sure. Wizard level 14, total level 16. We get ourselves another Arcane Tradition. And honestly, it's simple, but it's so effective. But first, speaking of effective, our effective HP is 166. Ooh, but look at that. You have advantage on saving throws against spells. Anytime anybody tries to cast their own spells on you, you got a saving throw. And you also get resistance to the damage of spells. So in addition, your ward has resistance to these spells because of this quote from Jeremy Crawford. Now, for as far as spells go, your effective HP is almost like, it's went up 1.5%. So in other words, we're in 240s. We're in the 240s of effective health when it comes to fighting other wizards, in addition to be able to shut down their counter spells, in addition to dispelling massive level spells. We are effectively one of the best mage killers in the game by being ourselves, just by living, by existing, by being able to manipulate mana far beyond at a fundamental level better than any average wizard, of which we pretty much are, plus more. We're able to shut down wizards and hunt them down. So again, if you're fighting a lich, if you're fighting any sort of magical caster, this is somebody you definitely want to bring to the plate. Or again, if you're fighting physical characters as well, you got yourself effective HP, you got yourself effective AC, and you got yourself a number of ways to stop the damage and protect your allies. It's a phenomenal time. It's genuinely a good time. But of course, we're not even done yet. We haven't talked about the spells, our 2 free spells for this level. We're gonna get teleport. Why not? We're a 7th level spell. This is where the well starts to dry up a little bit. You're able to move through the ley lines that cover the world that you and your ancestors have built for millennia. You're able to use them to full effect, being able to teleport across this great world and provide that comfort to your team of basically giving them a private jet that doesn't pollute the environment. Looking at you, Kylie Jenner. And finally, we get ourselves Mordenkainen's Magnificent Mansion because why not? We're just a massive level wizard. You're able to make your own home, and it's a home away from home because that one's protected by guards and wards. And you can make this one protected by guards and wards once they reach inside. It's one of those things where you're just a wizard. You're bending reality. You're able to make yourself your magical caravan that goes with you wherever you go. I just love wizards, dog. Wizard level 15, total level 17. We're almost there to the big boy, but we're just stopping just short. And usually wizards who are dedicated themselves to that sort of thing, they would be there. So we have a little bit of a falling point there. But again, you're saying no to those nerds. You're smacking the books out of their hands. You don't need that. We got clones. We're going to be in combat a lot. We're going to be probably one of the guys who are up there, probably the second most, maybe hopefully behind somebody with bigger armor, bigger guns than you. But if you find yourself in a situation where that effective HP just isn't enough, you got a contingency. More than just your usual contingency. You got yourself your clone. So in other words, if you die, well, don't worry. You got yourself Mordenkainen's Magnificent Mansion that you can keep this thing in if that doesn't effectively work because it has to spawn every time you create it. You got yourself a home protected by guards and wards. You got yourself a clone growing in the back, and he'll be back. And just give him 120 days. He'll be back, and he has the wards. He's got the spells. He's got everything. So you can't die. Our effective HP just became infinite. But we're still keeping the number there because why not? Why not? Hey, pick up Mind Blank. Mind Blank is still one of those things to where you can stop somebody from spying in on you. Being able to stop their magic is something that you're doing. It's kind of in the habit of doing. So being able to mind blank you and your allies, being able to protect yourselves from just divinations or being charmed, it's great. You already got yourself a save against that. Might as well just give it to an ally. Why not? You got yourself proficiency. You got yourself advantage on that. Why not give it to an ally? Your barbarian would love this. Being able to be immune to being charmed? Sure. Fantastic. Wizard level 16, total level 18. Another ASI. I believe this time we're going a little more wild with it. I say +2 con. Let's bump up that HP even higher. Or if not, pick the lucky feat. You can't go wrong with the lucky feats. I've heard of some DMs who ban at their tables. That's fine. But being able to give yourself +2 con just bumps up that HP. And look at that. 186. Will we break 200? Will we break 200? Let's find out. But first, spells. Pick up 8th level spells. We're going with Maze. Being able to weave a reality that is beyond this plane and is a never-ending maze to trap your enemies in for at least 10 minutes. Why not? You know, we're wizards. We can just do that. What? Wizard thing. As well as Dominate Monster. We've taken our mental weaving to the highest level to where even the most strange minds, the most foreign of concepts, entities, beings, can now be manipulated by our sheer mastery over magic itself, over the ley lines, over everything beyond this world. You're able to weave that sort of idea and almost weave your own ideas, Inception-like, into their brain. Wizard level 17, total level 19. It took a while. We're almost there. Most games don't make it this far. And frankly, we don't need to make it this far. Our character has already been doing crazy, wonderful things so far, but let's just bring this on home. Icing on the cake, cherry on top. We're picking up Wish. We're going to go to wish.com, get any spell that you want 8th level or less, replicate it. Bend reality with only a chance of it being gone forever? Sure. Why not? Being able to ultimately weave reality into exactly whatever you want, no infinity stones included? Sure. Let's just end it off with that. Effective HP 196. We're so close, but you know that level 20, we're going to make it. You also get yourself invulnerability. Pick up the ultimate Abjuration spell while you're at it. It's a crime if you don't as an Abjuration wizard. Just being able to make yourself immune to all damage. Sure. Yeah, and it only costs 500 GP? Sure. Yeah, just the ultimate form of your mana weave, just purely immune to all outside effects, all damage, anything that is intending to harm you. Sure. Yeah, let's go with it. And also, again, you're able to restore your ward by so much, by 18. Why not? Wizard level 18, total level 20. We did it. We finally made it. We didn't make it to the highest, but honestly, this is one of the highest points you could reach as a wizard, and it's still acceptable. My apologies. You're gonna get yourself Spell Mastery. Now, you can get yourself a first and second level spell and just cast them whenever you want at the lowest level, just as a heads up. But just cast them whenever you want. We can already do that with Mage Armor. Why not just pick it up with another spell? So we're gonna go ahead and do Shield. This effectively makes our AC +5 forever. And also, at the same time, you're healing your ward by 2 HP every time you cast this spell forever. For free. You just gotta take it. As the ultimate Abjuration wizard, you just gotta take Shield for free, forever. And then second one, I picked Invisibility. It's not exactly the craziest thing that a mind-bending, reality-warping, universal being would be able to just suddenly turn yourself invisible until you punch somebody. But honestly, I mean, I just say it's just one of those things that's just good to have on hand. Just give yourself advantage on all stealth checks forever. Sure. Great. And you can also kind of tie this into maybe picking that sort of aspect of the Force Weave that you truly find useful, and you can give it to allies or you can give it to anything that you want. Just being able to bend that sort of concept forever. And of course, we get ourselves another 2 9th level spells. There really isn't a lot. We're really draining the well here. Go with True Polymorph. Again, just take this as an advancement of your Polymorph spell. Now you can just make your effects that you weave into reality something that just never ends, something that truly finds their mark and truly finds their place entrenched on this earth. And you can be able to contribute to the ley line yourself that way. And sure, let's go with Gate. Just being able to teleport anywhere around the world for $5,000, anywhere in the plane of existence. Or actually, I believe even into a different plane to existence. Why not? We're just casting 9th level spells. We're the ultimate wizard. Let's just do it. Now the ley lines extend beyond the world as you've discovered them, and you're able to, just as before, move between them. Take advantage of that. Be the wizard, the most wizardy wizard you could be, who's just a little bit more thick than the usual ones. So final thoughts. As you may have been able to tell from this excitement, I love this build. I think it's genuinely one of those things to where wizards as a whole, and I say this as somebody who plays a lot of wizards, as somebody who theory crafts a lot of wizards, they kind of get samey. You usually take Hypnotic Pattern, you usually take Web, you usually take Dimension Door, you usually take Polymorph. You know, you get your same mass suggestion, your run of your gamut spells. You can change it up a little bit, but you know that you're shooting yourself in the foot when you do that. It's one of those things to where you could take Binding Ice just to spice things up a little bit, but it's just a little bit of a weirder web. The Abjuration Wizard almost brings like a new element to that. Divination Wizard just lets you succeed more frequently. Bladesinger, yes, does let you enter combat a little bit more, but usually you're taking a different sort of but same set of spells with that. Scribe's Wizard maybe changes the game up a little bit. You know, now you can make your spicy fireball into a giant fist. Cool, neat. But I feel like there really isn't anything aside from maybe the Illusion Wizard that really changes up your spell list, how you really want to play a character aside from the Abjuration Wizard. This is one of those things to where you can confront one of the biggest weaknesses the wizard has, and that is their own mortality, but also just the ability of being squishy little dudes that hang out in the back. But in addition, you're also able to take on an off-tank role, being able to give yourself so much health, being able to protect yourself so much from just enemies that try to jump you because you are the spellcaster in the back that any decent enemy with decent intelligence would do first thing. And also at the same time, you're able to give that benefit to your allies. And at the same time, you're also, again, the ultimate wizard killer. As I mentioned, you're able to shut them down with counterspell, dispel magic, being able to do all that. You're able to offer yourself a lot more than I feel a usual wizard really be able to do. And we're really not sacrificing a lot. We're maybe taking up, an extra level in Artificer, which does slow us down, sure. But again, it's well worth it for the additional AC and also Mind Sharpener. Instead of taking another Warcaster feat, why not take this? Go for it. I believe also, in addition, we get ourselves Cure Wounds just from the very start. Guidance is another great spell that we get. And again, I keep harping about it, but it's genuinely one of the most flavorful characters I've ever built, because you can take something that is barely used in D&D, and that is the tools, but be able to make your whole character kind of built around that, and all the spells just thematically tie with it it is honestly one of those things that just really, that's why I started this whole thing, because I just want to see a whole lot of cool, unique character ideas that I have come to life, and I'm really grateful that this module 5e is able to do that sort of thing. And I mean, it's really my first foray into tabletop games, but as you can tell, I like it. I like it a lot. It's a genuine joy. It's a great time. Being able to come up with character concepts like this, being the nerd that I always was, to do character design and have it kind of work in a similar rule set that you can almost force your own OCs onto people and have a reason to have them be this way. As well as have game mechanics that you can build your character around. I feel like that's more than just purely building someone off of your own rules. Just having another set of rules that is enforced kind of forces you to make some hard decisions and be able to change your ideas. So I think this is a character that truly stands at the top. As really any great wizard should. As I mentioned, you're an average wizard with a lot more that you bring to the table. Which again, the average wizard is frankly stronger than most other classes. I think maybe the only thing that maybe surpasses maybe a Chronologist wizard, maybe certain sorcerers, maybe bards if played right. You know, at that point you're dealing with some upper level spellcasters. But this is one of those things to where you can shut all those down with your ability to counterspell. Again, the only thing that really stops you from counterspelling is a subtle spell counterspell. Which, sure, okay, let them have that. But you can take hits better than them, and you can do a lot more damage. You're able to control so much more. You have a bigger spell list than your average sorcerer. And I genuinely think this is one of those character builds that is just top of the class. Again, the only really big gripe I have with it is that it's slow to start with the focus on Artificer. And again, I did commit the largest cardinal sin of wizards. You don't stop until you get to your 3rd level spells, then you change it. Fine, you can do that if you like. I just felt like you wanted to take one of those things early to bump your HP up and bump up the AC as well as the Mind Sharpener. It's good to have. And also, again, I think another bad thing is that the slow capping our intelligence is a bit of a hindrance, but I genuinely wanted the tough feat. I feel like, again, that just adds another level to this character. But and again, we did get there. We got there. We just took a little bit longer, but honestly, it was well worth it, I feel. But that's going to do it for the build. I appreciate you watching. If you've came along with me this whole time, especially now with this whole rambling bit right there, I've got a whole bunch more character ideas that I'm just as excited for and just keep thinking of so much stuff, and they're going to come up with a lot more frequency. So I hope you enjoyed. I appreciate you taking all your time watching this, and let me know if you use this character, what sort of changes do you want to make, do you want to see, or what sort of ideas that you may have. Maybe it's not exactly a weaver, but some sort of other idea that you may be working, a woodcrafter or some sort of stone builder. You know, maybe even separate yourself from the tools idea and altogether and just kind of build yourself around something else. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll catch you later.